Hey y'all, Jamie here. Proud 55-year-old trans woman from New Orleans. So, where last I left off? Well, I had moved in with my dad and Gail. Gail had me doing lots of little chores. She had my dad doing lots of little chores too. Gail was a flight attendant. Okay, so Gail was out of town a lot, and she'd be gone 3 or 4 days, come home 3 or 4 days, back and forth like that. And whenever she would be out of town, there would always be lists for me and my father, and she would leave him an allowance. Yeah, a grown man. She left him an allowance. And she left him one blank check in case of emergencies. You know, I was given $3 a week allowance, supposedly to keep me out of trouble, right? Um, she, in her estimation, thought that if she only gave me $3 a week, what trouble could I possibly get into, right? So, yeah, that was the agreed upon allowance that I received, $3 a week. Didn't stop me from doing a fucking thing. If I wanted to drink, I stole alcohol. If I wanted to smoke, I stole cigarettes. I just became a little thief. Like, honestly, and I wasn't the only one. Listen, all the kids I was hanging out with were doing it. And that doesn't make it right or whatever. Just making a blanket statement about the situation. It just was what it was. When we would get out of school, we would all hit the Circle K, and we would steal cigarettes and shit. And back in those days, it was a lot easier to do, believe it or not. You could steal dirty magazines, you could steal cigarettes, you could steal alcohol. Really, anything you wanted to get your hands on, you could get your hands on if you really wanted to, even at that age. And I started going to a couple of bars here and there. I made friends with a girl at school named Jeanette, and Jeanette's mom ran the Starlight Inn, and it was a Starlight Lounge. It was Starlight Lounge. I'm sorry, the Starlight Lounge, and her mom lived there behind the bar, and I would go hang out there and like getting my hands on cigarettes and alcohol and drugs and things of that nature really was not hard for me to do. That $3 a week shit that Gail thought she was going to put a noose around my neck with, that did, or a leash, I should say, not a noose, a leash, yeah, a leash. That wasn't going to do anything, y'all. That wasn't going to stop me from anything. And you know, did my dad and did my stepmother try? Yeah, they tried. They tried. My dad tried for sure. My stepmother, she tried. She tried. I'll give her credit. You know what? Fuck it. Let's give her this one. Sure, she tried. Um, and they did try to do normal stuff with me. Listen, we would go to open houses on the weekends together when Gail was in town, and if it was warm weather, we loved to get snowballs and ride around the neighborhood and look at houses and talk about which ones would be. Ooh, that would be a dream house there, and that kind of stuff. Um, I spent a lot of time with Gail's family on weekends and stuff. We would go see them in Hammond. Her family lived in Hammond, and her mother. Her mother explains Gail in spades, like just explains her in spades. Like to meet her mother, Phil. Phil was, yes, a woman named Phil, and it was Filipino, but not the nationality. Her name was Filipino, and but everybody called her Phil. And so anyway, I called her Momo Phil. So I would go spend the weekends with her and her husband Vic sometimes, and there was an attempt to have some normality for me in life. Here's the thing. By the time my dad and Gail got me from my mother, I was not the same little kid that my dad had sent away with my mother when I was 11. That kid was gone. Like, I was way too damaged. Are you kidding me? I had had a good, solid couple of years of beatings in there, and major abuse, black and blue marks all over me all the time. And look, I'll be honest, my dad and Gail, they weren't physically abusive people. They're not physically abusive people. Although Gail jumped on my back one time and tackled me and was like, she tried clawing my eyes out because, anyway, we were having a big old fight. She said something about, you're the reason that I never want to have kids because I might have one that comes out like you. And I told her, I said, you know what? I hope you have fucking triplets, and I hope every last one of them comes out exactly fucking like me. And that's when she turned around and she jumped on my back and tried to claw my eyes out. My dad had to pull her off. I mean, just madness. Just madness. You know, the only time my dad got physical with me twice. Twice. Okay. One time I called Gail a fucking slut and he backhanded the fuck out of me. Rightfully so. Okay, we'll give him that one. And then the other time, I don't remember what I had done. I had done something to get in trouble at school, and the man just proceeded to just. I was in drama club, okay, and I was actually supposed to give the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech at school the next day, on stage in front of the entire school. And my father chose that day to beat the hell out of me and grow a pair and decide to beat me, right? And not just kind of like he was cracking me across my kneecaps with a paddle, cracking me across my kneecaps with like a ping pong paddle. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of what to say. It was like a ping pong paddle. If y'all want to know what happened next and how it went at school the next day, y'all know the routine. Be here tomorrow, honey, and I will too. I love you all. I love you all for watching, and I love you for the comments. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.